Last June in the 2008 Cincinnati Fringe Festival, a musical about parenting captured the fancy of a lot of people. With the funny title of Don't Make Me Pull This Show Over, it was a song cycle about the joys and frustrations of every stage of being a parent. Those tunes were the creative product of Richard Oberacker, a Cincinnati native who's made a real career for himself in the theater and in the world of music, and he's my guest this evening to talk about the show's next staging, opening Wednesday at Ensemble Theater of Cincinnati for a 3-week run. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here.
It's great to be with you, Rick.
I want to make something clear from the outset, and that is that you and I have known each other for a way long time.
About 3 lifetimes
I think so. Back in the middle 1980s, I'm going to say, I did some work at Marymount Players.
Yep. And
you were a student at Turpin High School, if I'm not mistaken.
Anderson
High School, excuse me.
It's the same district, though.
Yeah, and you were music directing some shows for Marymount Players.
Yep.
And you were probably, what, about 16, 15?
17 years old was my first
at the time.
music directing.
And I thought, wow, this kid's going to go a long way. And look, here you are.
Here I am, right back in Cincinnati. That's a long way, Rick. I'm not sure where that's
well, after
us,
high school, you went to the College Conservatory of Music
Yep.
and studied drama there, actually.
Yeah, I entered as a composition major, and then they kind of tried to create a degree composition for musical theater by combining a couple of different departments, and that didn't fly as well as we all had hoped. And so I landed in the drama department, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Well, it gave you a sense of drama and music then, I think, probably.
Well, absolutely, because I always wanted to write for the theater, and a couple of people were very influential there. Michael Burnham, absolutely, and Dion Quapple, and both of them really kind of sat me down and said, look, we can't teach you necessarily anything about music composition that you aren't instinctively already doing, but what we can teach you is what the actor does and what they need and what they thrive on and what they look for. And if you are willing to put yourself through that boot camp, when you come out on the other side, you will write for an actor like no one else, because you've been there. And when you teach and you conduct, which was something I was already doing and making money doing, you'll be one of those teachers that can say, I can get up there on that stage and do it just as well. So please listen to what I have to say. And not a lot of teachers actually can do that.
Yeah. Well, we could talk for a whole period of an interview here about your conducting, because you've done a lot of that. I mean, audiences locally have seen you in the pit at the Aronoff conducting a tour of the Lion King, and I know you spend a lot of time in Las Vegas with Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, I'm there pretty much full-time now with Ka.
So, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. And you also, we should mention, because people will know your work from this, 2 seasons ago, your show Ace was at the Cincinnati Playhouse.
Joyfully, yes.
And that was a fine production, and you and your creative partner, Robert Taylor,
yes.
Who writes lyrics for most of the things that you do, that was your work in
Right.
Ace.
We actually collaborate on the lyrics and the script as well. So our general credit is music by me, and then lyrics and book together we work on.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this show, Don't Make Me Pull This Show Over. And can you talk about where it came from? Because it's not a book musical. It really is more of a song cycle.
It's a song, well, secretly Rob and I call it a musical documentary. Huh. You know, 15 years ago they would have called a show like this a review, and then it became unfashionable to call something a review. So somebody invented the term song cycle, which I find it pretentious. But anyway, when we were working on Ace, there was a terrific song in it called Make It From Scratch. And it was this foster woman baking cookies, and everybody called it the cookie song. But the song wasn't about making cookies, it was about parenting. And a lot of people it dawned on them, much later in reflecting back on it. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to create a show about parenting, because so much of what we're interested in are issues of parenting. If we could create a show of little gem songs like Make It From Scratch that were a slice of life, showed somebody as if the camera sort of just dropped in on the kitchen or dropped in the living room or whatever, at a moment in a parent's life where they were sort of just dealing with an issue. And the song was its own little 3-act play. But by the end of it, you realized it was a character study of who this person was and what they were dealing with. And that you could, at the end of each one of those songs, as a parent or as a child of a parent, obviously, be able to say, wow, I get that, or I've been through that, or I know somebody who went through that, or I went through something kind of like that. And could we build an evening architecturally of all these little gems, and would it add up to anything? So it was an idea we had sort of joked about for quite some time, the whole creation of ACE. And the more we would mention it to friends, people, friends who were parents, would say, oh, if you ever do this, listen, this happened to me when I was a new parent, and I wish I could let the world know about this and that. Or I would be listening to, I was listening to NPR once, and there's this incredible interview about a woman who was Muslim, and her child was in elementary school and had this very, very traumatic thing happen to her. And I was so moved by this interview, and I thought, I got to the end of this interview, and I thought, and I know how this interview is going to end. The woman is going to say, and so I walked into the principal's office, and I said, here's a piece of my mind. And she didn't. It didn't have a happy ending. And I thought, I want to write this as a song, and I want to give it that happy ending it didn't have in real life.